into this demo file. Some things I want to show you how to do are zooming, panning, and orbiting. Okay? So you're going to use your scroll wheel on your mouse, and in any one of these viewports, if you use the scroll wheel, you can zoom in and out. So in top view, scroll wheel will zoom me in and out. Same for any one of these other views. Now, perspective as well. So that's how you zoom in and out. Now, in top view, if you right click, you'll be able to pan, right? You're going to get this hand, and this hand is the pan hand. So I can pan around, right? So you can pan and then zoom and then pan and then zoom. Get used to doing that kind of stuff. Zooming out, panning, zooming out, panning. You can do that. And these three views are always the same. In perspective, if you right click, you're not going to pan. You're going to orbit, which is a three-dimensional panning in a way. It's going to allow you to orbit around your three-dimensional objects, right? And you got to hold down the button to do this. You can't just click. You have to click and hold, and you can orbit around. So get used to orbiting around your objects as well. So you could zoom and orbit. Now you can pan in 3D in perspective, but you have to hold down Shift. So on the keyboard, if you press Shift and then right click in perspective, you'll be able to pan, just like you do in the other views, right? But you have to hold down Shift. Now something that is not necessary to know, but I'll show you anyways, the control button, if you hold down Control and right click, you'll be able to zoom in and out, which is exactly like the scroll wheel. So it's the same thing twice, right? But just be aware that the Shift and Control buttons on the keyboard are helpful. They help you do a lot of little things, right? They're like that third finger, or that the third hand that you wish you had, right? It's like, it's helpful. So get used to possibly having to hold down Shift or Control in order to do things. So that's how you zoom, you pan, hold down Shift to pan in perspective, and how you orbit, which is pretty much all with the right click. Now you cannot orbit in top view, front or right. The reason being is they're 2D views. You don't need to orbit around a 2D view. You save orbiting for perspective. Now next on here I want to talk about is selecting things. So you can easily select something by clicking on it, which is left click. And notice that if I want to click on the next object, the other one deselects. So, and when something you select, it turns yellow. So whenever it's yellow, it's been selected. Whenever it's not yellow, it's not selected. It's basically deselected. Now if you want to select two objects at once, you need to hold down Shift. So holding down Shift, I can select two objects at once. Now you're probably wondering, how do I deselect one of these objects, right? I have two things selected, but I accidentally selected that second one. I need to not select it. If you hold down Control and click, you'll be able to deselect something, but still have your other things selected. Okay? So get used to doing that. It's Shift and Control. Shift adds objects to your list. Control takes away objects from your selection. Now that's just strictly clicking on an object. You can also select things by dragging a window. So in top view, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to double click into top view so I can show you. Now see how when I click and I get this box here? Now this gray box is a solid gray box. Now that's going from left to right. If I go from right to left, notice that the box is dashed. Okay? So everybody take a look at my screen. I have a dashed gray box. It's kind of hard to see because it's gray on a gray background. But if you go from right to left, you get a dash box. If you go from left to right, you get a solid box. Okay? Now one of these is going to allow you to select anything that's inside of it. The other one is going to only allow you to select things that are completely inside of it. So let me show you the example of this. I'm going to right click and I'm going to drag completely over this box, and I'm going to select just partial of the next cube. Okay? Notice that the box is solid gray because I went from left to right. it only selected what was inside of the window. Okay, so the solid gray only selects what's inside of this box completely, right? So if I go like this, it's not going to select it because it's not completely in it. But if I go like this and it's completely in it, it's going to select it. Now if I go the opposite direction, which is right to left, and get this gray box with the dash, notice that I'm halfway over the second box there, but it selected both of them. So the dashed gray box, when you select things and drag, whatever's inside of there, even if it's the smallest piece of an object, it's going to select it. Okay? So some things you can do here is select everything, or maybe you just wanted to select two things, but notice how I'm hovering over the cylinder. So that's how you can select things by dragging a window around them. So I'm going to double click back out, and I'm going to click this button again just to bring everything back to its original point. This video is covering how to zoom, pan, orbit, and select objects, both by clicking on them and dragging a window over them.